dear friend, the last time we saw each other, Europe and its Western culture had established the basis for the ratification of the Declaration on Human and Commercial Rights. To justify its expansion, the Western Empire chose democracy and capitalism. They were abstract ideas, yet with sufficient strength to bring them to the brink of the unthinkable, concretion. The medieval-inspired colonial structures of my grandfather's days had crumbled. Soldiers joined in kinship with public civil servants, formed a petite bourgeoisie, and clamored for democracy for themselves. Disciplined and organized, they saw themselves as part of the empire's middle class and demanded greater participation. After the war, they started the automobile cycle, and obsolete products were reborn in the imported factories of the colonies. And since no one could have all at once, we, trustworthy colonial agents, controlled the access to capital through high interest rates and permanent inflation. The automobile and its highways helped the distribution of mass consumption products, as well as urban migrations. Abundant slave labor migrated to the cities, where social responsibility was cheaper. Because of their proximity, slaves and social utopians developed the same feelings of discontent, and they joined forces. Why couldn't all be part of the automobile cycle? The utopians prophesied the possibility of the other empire taking up arms, and the veterans of the Second World War used this to justify taking power in the colonies, imposing their role as controllers of the empire. They introduced modernistic architecture, Bauhaus for all, as well as interplanetary communication and computerized controls. Despite monthly increases in the cost of capital, there was so much money that we fooled ourselves into believing that our bases were solid enough for us to come of age. Colonies like Cuba and Vietnam made us feel certain that with logical reasoning and far away from the utopias, our automobiles would become more and more powerful, and we more modern. We deposited all our faith on the Berlin Wall. The wall itself was alive, and for us, it clearly defined the space in which reason functioned. But the empire's bankers charged higher and higher interest rates. Even after being defeated by weapons, the utopians, who now possessed the hearts and minds of the slaves, also wanted democracy for themselves. Then the empire extended the privilege of junk food to the underprivileged barbarians. Afterwards, they made us convince the slaves that according to logic, the colonies had to return to being mere redistribution centers, and the automobile cycle came to an end. When it seemed that the utopians had finally managed to make us believe that all men are created equal, the Berlin Wall collapsed. Everywhere, the poor in spirit emerged, wanting to be slaves at any cost. Here in the colony, there is growing desperation. From the farthest corner of the empire, we see that the organizational theories of the last century did not survive the end of the millennium. The systems don't work. Their agents are uncontrollable. And like a human virus, they threaten the trees, the species, and our entire paradise of water. The defense of the planet will now be the new method to control the slaves. It's all very natural. Also natural are the essential fundamentals that remain: primary nationalism and religions. It's human, much too human.